Hello, welcome to the Leukopak Lady. Today I'm doing something a little different. I'm interviewing Tracy Ryan. Tracy is the co-founder and chief communications officer at NKore BioTherapeutics. She has a background in marketing and communications, and I can't wait to dig into the work that she's doing in the biotherapy space. Tracy and I are both speaking next week at the 3rd Annual Donor Selection and Cell Source Summit in San Diego, hosted by Hanson Wade. This episode will give you a teaser about the kinds of great content that you will experience at this year's conference. So hello, Tracy. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me today, Jenny. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Great. So tell me a little bit about what NKore BioTherapeutics does and what your goals are.
So NKore BioTherapeutics is backed by 35 years of research out of UCLA. We have what's called a supercharged natural killer cell therapeutic, NK101. And this is an allogeneic NK cell therapy where we find super donors, we harvest their NK cells, and then we supercharge them through a proprietary supercharging process that was part of Dr. Anahi Jewett's development strategy. I came in to license the technology around 2018 after I was looking for a cure for my own daughter's low-grade brain tumor that had been relentless. We're now currently treating patients through medical tourism in Cancun, Mexico. We're about to treat patient number 8 in December. We've given 20 infusions, and my daughter was patient number 2. And we're seeing incredible results with no side effects thus far. So we can look towards starting those larger scale human trials in the United States into 2026, beginning of 2027 sometime.
Sounds very cool. So you are a co-founder of NKore, and it sounds like your daughter had something to do with your motivation to get involved with this company. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yes, absolutely. She is the whole reason I do everything that I do every day of my life, honestly. Yeah. My daughter's 13 now. Her name is Sophie. And at 8.5 months old, she was diagnosed with a low-grade brain tumor called an optic pathway glioma. These are traditionally survivable tumors with a 90 to 95% success rate, but they do have an 85% recurrence rate. So our young infant, being as little as she was when she was diagnosed, sadly, this tumor was quite relentless and quite aggressive for slow growing tumor. She did 7 years of chemotherapy, 8 protocols failed. She had 6 brain surgeries, 12 surgeries on her body in total. She's legally blind with a left-hand side weakness. From the very beginning, we found out that there was little research that was being done for pediatrics in general. For our daughter, next to nothing, because this was a survivable tumor. They weren't even studying this tumor at St. Jude's. So when I found out that pediatric cancer had barely been involved in 40 years, that is when I knew right away I had to take action. So that's when I went on my global hunt around the world to try and find someone that could help with Sophie. Medical cannabis was our first touch point. So when I started learning about this plant and I took it to my daughter's oncologist, they actually did the research on their own. And they came back to us and they said, we don't see any reason why you shouldn't use this plant if you have people that know how to guide you in care. And we did. And we were guided in how to use the plant very safely. It was because, I would say, of the positive benefits that we were seeing in Sophie that we really stayed the course with this plant. Her immune system wasn't dipping. So there was really something significant going on with her immune system. That is when Dr. Jewett and I's world collided. And that is when we decided to create NKore BioTherapeutics, because we were both on the same mission and just were using different processes in which to help people.
Yeah, very cool. And I'm a big believer in the power of NK cells to fight cancer and harnessing those, especially in an allogeneic, a context. And so How are you spoke on this a little bit, but how are you supercharging those NK cells? How are you harnessing them?
So we first start with a super donor, of course, and we take their whole blood. We really look for people whose NK cells are at the peak of performance. Yeah. Once we have taken those allogeneic natural killer cells, we feed osteoclasts from another super donor to those natural killer cells, along with 9 different strains of probiotic bacteria. The NK cells end up consuming all of this bacteria and all of the osteoclasts, and it adopts the aggressive behavior of the osteoclasts. And then the probiotic acts as this superfood that's igniting these cells and charging them. Yeah. And we end up with an NK cell that is more cytotoxic and is more persistent compared to what we're seeing with the other types of processes that we've studied in the field. We right now are the only company that is claiming that we have an orthogonal mechanism of action, meaning that we are seeing both immune system restoration and eradication of stem cells, which is very, very exciting.
Okay, very cool. Yeah. And so I guess, how then do you define those super donors? What characteristics of the donors qualifies them to even undergo the collection for your process?
For us, we really want to see patients who have kind of an abnormally high natural killer cell function naturally. And oddly enough, my husband is one of those people. I too am a super donor. It's really looking for those patients whose immune system just naturally are functioning at a very, very high level, but are also well balanced with all of the other white blood cells. They're releasing a lot of gamma interferon. They're either cytotoxic, and there's this really great harmony in between the NK cells and the other supportive cells within the lymphocytes.
Cool. This is a question that really was sparked by what you have been telling me. Is there anything that the donors can do to prepare to be donors? Like, so if you've identified them because they have better NK cell function, is there anything they can do to prepare for that collection? That's a big question that's going around in the field, is what can the donors do to sustain their status as super donors, or to become so, or to maintain good function of their cells for these therapies?
Well, first and foremost, a healthy lifestyle is paramount. If they can be active regularly, if they can cut out sugar, because sugar very much weakens the immune system. No alcohol, no drugs. And I don't consider really cannabis a drug. It's a plant medicine that has extreme medical benefit.
Right,
so put that in category over here, with drugs being over here, like the hard drugs. Even. Cigarette smoking, absolutely should not be smoking cigarettes, and we won't even take a donor if they drink or smoke. So those are very important. Lots of sleep, de-stress, just making sure to take care of what is your temple, your body. The cannabinoids for me is a big one. I believe that cannabis is something that the field should be looking at. There's also a probiotic bacteria that I really love that Dr. Jewett created. So I believe probiotics can be something, along with a very good, nutritious, well-balanced diet, rich with immune-boosting foods, that could be very promising. And I've recently learned one other thing that was kind of baffling to me. One of the gentleman who actually owns the facility in Cancun, Mexico, where we're currently referring patients through medical tourism, he has noticed that sourdough bread, oddly, is changing people's immune function. And he's actually asking people, that's exactly what I thought. It must be the yeast. But he said that he is seeing a clear difference in patients when they eat sourdough the day before or the morning of versus when they don't. So cool. I don't know, maybe there's something there.
Yeah, very, very cool. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of this with me. And I look forward to talking with you more. I have a million more questions that I want to ask, but we'll end the interview here. I'll speak to you soon.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks so much for joining me for this episode of The Leukopak Lady. And thanks to Tracy Ryan of NKore BioTherapeutics for sharing her story and the work that NKore is doing to advance allogeneic NK cell-based therapies. This is such important work.